This is Kayla.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hey, how you doing, Caleb? Nice to meet you, bud.
Yeah. And so Brother Wayne was telling me about you. He said he was saying like
And
how
we've been
you have an amazing testimony.
Yeah, man. God's definitely done some miracles in my life for sure.
Yeah. So tell me, are you willing to tell us some of the miracles he's worked?
I'm always willing to share, man. If you're willing to hear.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna show y'all someone real quick.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's beautiful, man. That's your kid?
Yeah. Say hi. Yeah, so if you see me like going back and forth, I'm definitely taking care of her at the same time. So
yeah, that's cool.
Man, God, they say the devil is real. That he hide in the background, and he's definitely made himself known, in my life through certain things. But God, man, like saw me through, so many different things. How old are you, bro? How old are you?
I'm 19.
Man, bro, when I was 19, man, bro, if I could only go back, I wouldn't go back if I could. But man, bro, so, I've experienced, man, God working in my life through some of the miracles that he's done. One time, bro, I was partying, man, really, really hard. You know what I mean? We were like going hard, bro. And
yeah,
that night I had taken some Xanax. I had taken some morphine. I had sipped some drink, and I had took some methadone pills and some morphine pills. Bro, I was probably on like a whole concoction of drugs that night.
Yeah.
And I had just like no care in the world, like for my life at all. Yeah. And the last memory I have of that night, was just like being so high that the whole room was just spinning. And I was like, man, I'm gonna go to sleep now. I like just took another pill, and like, I'm so high that the whole room is just spinning. And I'm like, I'm gonna just go to sleep now. And little did I know, bro, that like, by God's grace, I woke up, So that night I basically overdosed and died.
Yeah.
My grandmother had a dream that night, and in her dream, her mom appeared to her and basically told her in the dream that, she needed to go check on me, that my time hadn't come yet. Yeah. And that I was doing really, really bad. So she said that she woke up, and basically went and saw me, and I was basically like in a state of overdosing. I had like foam coming out of my mouth, my heart had stopped. Basically called 911, and they hit me with some adrenaline to get my heart going, and hit me with the paddles, and they were able to save my life. And that happened, just over and over and over. And I was running from the hurt, that I had experienced in my life, and I hadn't learned, to give that to God. So I was seeking an outlet, through these hard drugs.
Yeah.
And man, like when those drugs, like take you over, bro, like you become a totally different person, man. Like, I remember one particular incident, man. I had pulled out a gun and pointed it at this old lady. She was every bit of, 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
And reminded me, exactly of my grandma, bro. And in that moment, she was like, please don't kill me. You know what I mean? And, something inside of me, was just like, I don't know why I said it, but I basically told her, like, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I didn't want to do this. You know what I mean? And I basically like just left from over there. And I say that just to say that, you know, sometimes like I noticed for myself, at least, whenever I would take those drugs, you know, it would almost alter my perception and, you know, kind of like turn me into a completely different person altogether. uh, and throughout all that, you know, like I still didn't learn. You know, I still didn't.
You just kept doing it.
I just kept doing it, man, over and over and over. I was, you know, playing Russian roulette, you know, with a loaded gun, and just didn't care about my life at that point. So, you know, I ended up, at that point, you know, getting caught up, and I ended up getting like 4 aggravated robberies. You know, I was real young. You know, I was young and dumb. I was real heavy into the streets, bro, like selling drugs, and, you know, just had this mentality like, you know, I'm gonna try to make $1 million, you know, just selling drugs. In the most ghetto, you know, way possible. So at one point, you know, like I got into robbing because I had went to jail for a assault charge. And while I was in jail, basically, the police department, they were basically investigating me, like the drug enforcement agency was investigating me for selling drugs. They could never like catch me doing it like red hand, like in the act of it, but, you know, they had other people like saying that I was doing it. And they like had surveillance footage from like across the street, you know, watching people come and go. So while I was in jail, they basically like ended up raiding my house and like popping my brother. And ended up like telling my brother like, hey, you know, like we're never after you, but we were after your brother the whole time. Like, if you're willing to like, you know, write a statement against him that it were all his drugs, like we'll drop the charges on you and just put them all on him. He didn't do that. I ended up getting out of jail a couple months later. And like at this point, you know, I'm so immature and so young. I'm not like, you know, really just thinking right. And my state of mind is basically like, hey, you know, I'm not going to sell any more drugs because I know that they're watching me. But what I'm going to do is every time someone wants some drugs, I'm going to just rob them for it. So that's what I started doing. I literally just started, you know, deboing people and taking their money. And, you know, like that's, you know, that was my frame of mind. You know, my frame of mind was like, hey, I'm not going to, you know, commit a level 3, you know, felony that, you know, is 2 to 10 years. You know, I'm going to commit a felony that, you know, is 5 to 99 or life. And I didn't understand the difference. You know, I didn't truly like comprehend what I was doing. You know, I grew up, you know, playing Grand Theft Auto, you know, so like killing cops and, you know, stealing cop cars and running over, like that's pretty much like a social thing that we were doing, you know, on the TV, you know, playing games. I started doing that in real life. You know, so I ended up like getting caught up, bro, and I go to jail and I'm there. And, you know, after like 90 days, you know, they ended up indicting me and taking me to court. And they were basically like, yeah, you know, we're going to have to offer you like 40 years. And I was like, bro, I'm like 19, dog, I'm like 20. I'm like, I'm not doing 40 years. Like, I can't do no 40 years. And I had like a peace, you know, in my spirit at that point. Cause like, you know, I had always like known God, but I had never experienced God's grace. You know what I mean? In that way, I experienced the devil. I could tell you all types of stuff, bro, like crazy stories, man, that I seen and experienced, you know, just from, you know, just crazy stuff, bro. Like I like supernatural, out of this world type stuff, where it just makes you question reality. Like, what the heck is like that for real, you know? But, you know, seeing all that, you know, it made me like start questioning things. And I remember like going to jail, bro, and basically my whole prison sentence, I did about 7 years in prison. From when I was like, I had just turned 20, and I was turning 27 when I got out. So I literally just turned 20 when I went in, and I was turning 27 when I got out. Yeah. And there was one scripture, man, Brother Wayne had brought it up, a little while back. Conform not to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind. And basically, for years, conform not to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind. That right there, bro, like took me deep, man. It took me far.
Yeah.
I had to really, really, really like renew my mind. And I did that for years at a time without any of the social stimulation, that we find out here in this world.
Right.
And
I want you to finish, but I also want you to tack on a little bit about why the importance of having godly people in your life too when you're trying to make these transitions and having, you know what I mean? Talk about that too.
Yeah,
I mean, keep doing, At that little bit in there.
When I was going through this process, man, like I had to separate myself from, almost everyone. Like, to put it in perspective, the first day I got out of jail, like most people would think that, their family is going to throw a big party, take them out to dinner, all this stuff. Like, I ain't getting none of that. I got home, the first thing I got was my brother asking me if I wanted some more bars. My cousin asking me if I wanted some beer. It was really, really tough, and I had to isolate myself from, almost like everyone, family members included, bro. Like my brother was the one offering me bars, my cousins were the one offering me beer. My friends were the one offering me this and offering me that. So, I had to separate myself from all that.
Yeah.
But if there was like anything that made like the biggest difference, bro, I would definitely say it was, giving everything to God. When I got out, I was at a point where like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know like where I was going. I was making, every bit of, $11 an hour as a landscaper, basically having to work 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, just to even come close to $1,000 check.
Yeah.
So I remember talking with one of my supervisors at that landscaping company. He was basically like, hey, look, man, like, I don't think that like this is for you. Like, I feel like you just have too much ambition, and I don't think that like you're ever gonna get where you want to be, here. And whenever he told me that, I was like, hold up. I was like, okay, like it started making things click for me, and it started making me think. And over the weekend, I basically was like, man, I don't know what I want to do. Bro, I broke down and cried, man. I got on my knees and I was like, God, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going, but I need you to make things clear for me. You know what I mean? Because like at this point, I can't get by like this. Like I'm never gonna. I don't even know what success is, but I know that it's more than what I got here. And I don't know where I'm going or what I'm doing, but I want to be successful. And I don't even know where to start. You know what I mean? Like
you didn't want to be there where you were.
Bro, I knew that where I wasn't happy, and I knew that like there was more to life, than what I was currently getting.
Yeah.
So I literally got on my knees, bro, and prayed and was like, God, please, like, show me a sign. Give me something, man. Like, I don't know what I want. I want to be successful. So like, please open up the doors, for me to find success. Cause like, I don't even know how to define success at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I asked for God to even define it for me, you know what I mean? Because I didn't even know what it was, let alone like what I'm looking for. I was like, I don't know what I'm looking for, but I know I'm looking for something.
Yeah.
You know, so like I need you to show it to me, you know. And I feel like, you know, there's a story, you know, in the Old Testament where, you know, they were going around looking, and, you know, the guy came and, like, you know, Brother Wayne probably like tell the story like way more better than I ever could. But, you know, where they were basically like, you know, I'm bringing to you, you know, like the thing that you were searching for the whole time. Like, this is, you know, that lost God. And I felt at that point like I got on my knees and asked God to deliver me literally, you know, from where I was at, and deliver me, you know, and to like open up a door for me to be successful. And I mean, I'm telling you, bro, like I didn't even know how to define success at that point, you know? So I'm just, you know, like a child, you know, asking for something, you know, like just blindly accepting, you know, and just, you know, just coming as a child, bro. I came to him as a child for real, you know, when they say you got to come as a child, man, like that's what you got to do, man. You got to like just, you know, believe and accept and like lean out on your own understanding, you know, because like a lot of times, you know, we don't just really understand, you know.
Yeah.
So like at that point, bro, I prayed and I asked God like to open up a door for me, and I ended up finding a part-time job. So I basically found a temp agency job. And the temp agency, they were basically like, hey, you know, we got this like warehouse thing coming up. And like, because of your background, I don't know if like we're going to even be able to work with you. Bro,
Yeah.
I literally at that point, I was submitting hundreds of applications. And because of my background, everyone was saying no. I was at a point where I was literally telling people I'll work for free for the first week, for the first 2 weeks for payroll, just to show you like how bad I really am. If you like me, you keep me and pay me. If not, then I'll go about my way. But I guarantee you, you're gonna like me because you ain't never met someone work as hard as me.
Yeah.
And that dude was like, I don't know, man. I'll give you like just one shot. And if you do good, then I'll try you somewhere else. So he got me a warehouse job. And the warehouse job, bro, was literally on the street next over to where my mom was. And I was living with my mom at the time. So it seemed like, you know, a perfect fit.
Yeah.
And something in my spirit told me, man, like, you know, something in my spirit told me, like, go for this job, you know, hey. Something told me, you know, like, go for this job. And I was like, man, I don't know, man. Like, it's not really enough money, but I was at a point where I was like, I'm unemployed, so I mean, I'll take anything at this point.
Yeah.
So I got that job, and bro, like, I'm telling you, man, like, it was the hardest job I ever had, literally for real. So like, I was basically, remember, I had just got out of jail. I'm super physically fit at this point. So this whole time I'm in this warehouse doing this job, I'm basically
super
boxing
physically
and
fit.
paddling. Yeah, I was super physically fit, you know. So like
Yeah.
at
You mean
this
like that
point,
Brother
you
Wayne
know,
fit?
I'm basically you know, I'm basically in a warehouse, you know, 8 hours a day, working the entire time. I had never worked harder than I worked at that job ever in my life.
Yeah.
And it was literally, bro, like to a point where I was breaking. Like, so the whole time I was there was probably 20 women that worked there. They all basically were in charge of taking these gallon bottles of vodka, putting them in a box, and having one of the guys come over, pick up that box, take it to the wrapping machine to have them wrap it, and then put it on a pallet, you know, and pallet it.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, it don't sound like it's a lot, but after you live 1,000 boxes, your back is kind of like, ooh, man, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm there, bro, and I'm literally in this warehouse, just, you know, muscles, just, you know, and I'm literally, bro, just like drenching in sweat this whole time, bro, for hours on end, just working this hard job that I ain't never, like, I worked in the sun doing landscaping, and it was nowhere near as hard as that. They almost broke me. So this is how like God works, man, and just runs in circles, right? Like this is wild, bro. But check this out. So I went to one of the supervisors there. It was an older lady. She was super nice. And I went and told her, like, hey, man, like, her daughter was my direct supervisor. And her daughter was like really, really cute, but she was lesbian.
Yeah.
She had like this masculine energy about her, you know, and the whole time she was just bossing me around, you know, whatever. And I went to her mom one day and I was like, hey, man, like, I don't know what to do. Like, your daughter is just like picking on me, dog. Like, you know, like I'm over here working harder than everyone else. Like, literally, since I've been here, every day I bring in a new guy to work with me. I'm the only guy that stayed here this whole time. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, if y'all don't like cut me some slack, I'm gonna end up having to go somewhere too because I can't deal with this. So she was like, hold on, let me talk to her. I got you. She talked to her, and they ended up like coming back and pulling me to the side and was basically like asking me where I was from. And then like such a small world, that lady actually ended up going to high school with my mom and hadn't seen her, you know, in like the past like 30 years, 40 years or something. So, you know, whenever we got to talking or whatever, you know, she basically was asking me who I was. I told her, you know, that who I was. She basically like went to school with my mom, knew my mom. It was like super weird, you know, how like small it actually was.
Yeah.
And you know, come to find out, man, like she ends up like going to the guy who owned the temp agency and telling him like, hey, this is probably like one of the best workers we've ever had come through here. I definitely recommend him, you know, for like a better position somewhere else. And you know, so he basically took me to go interview for another company.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to that company, getting a job there, and then that basically like just changed my life. Literally, for
That's
real.
awesome.
That job that I got was probably, you know, the best job I ever had, but better than that, it was the linking bridge to basically get me from where I was to where I wanted to go. You know what I mean? And
which was like your own business, right?
Yeah, yes, which was, you know, to run my own business. I always knew that I wanted to start a business and be, you know, a business owner, but I had no idea where to start. You know,
what year were you with us at Hays County?
Oh,
I mean, like with me, like you, like what age?
2000. So
I mean, I can't remember. Were you like 15, 16, 17? What was
Yeah, bro, I was 15 years old. That was 9th grade. So basically 2001, I was in 5th grade. So 4 years later, 2005, maybe? Yeah, 2005.
How old were you, Caleb?
I was 16.
You were 16 when you got,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, I ended up going to that company, interviewed over there. And the guy who started that company was an entrepreneur who had like failed at like 8 or 9 other businesses, lost like millions of dollars in the process.
Yeah.
And he
ended up something about that age.
Yeah, he ended up going on to start this business called Hometown Hero. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're basically a manufacturer of electronic cigarettes and basically CBD products. And last year they did 40 million in sales. $40 million last year. Yeah, they.
You that's the company you used to work for?
Yeah, bro. So that I was the 7th person in that company, and every other person that came before me, they all got equity ranging from 20% down to 2%. I remember, you know, being there, and I had made the most money I was ever making. I was making $36,000 a year. And I remember, you know, the other owners that were there telling me at that point they were making like 40,000. Some of them were making 45, 60,000. But I remember being at that point and telling myself like, man, I would give up anything, like to just own 1%, of this right here. I felt like just so connected. Like I was a part of, something, bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And I ended up taking over the production lab for that company. Can you hear me good still?
Yeah.
After I was done at that CBD company, so going back to that, like that was super important because that was like a pivotal moment right there where, bro, like, no, it really was, man. Like, it was one of those things where it was just like, when I asked God to, open up the door for me to be successful and to show me and define what that meant, I didn't realize that, he would prepare me to go interview, for a company, and while I'm there, bro, so the CEO of that company was like 8 years older than me, and he had the exact same birthday as me.
Yeah.
So, that was the first time in my life that I had ever met someone that was like the exact image of myself, so like I've never met my real dad, so like growing up, I didn't have like that father figure, that was like, hey, like this is my son and, whatever. So whenever I went to work there, that was like the first time in my life where like I saw it, for myself. And I would like look at him and study him and be like, damn, that's how I am. You know what I mean? Like literally for real, bro. Like it was like one of the most significant things ever, and one of the most significant things, that came from that was, my CEO telling me that, he had to break through, some of the barriers that he had in his life. And one of the barriers that he had in his life, was a sexual addiction to porn. You know what I mean? It just sounds funny, right? Like, oh, a sex addict, like a porn sex addict, like, but I mean, this dude, like literally, had to go to therapy, had to go to like seek all types of like outside help, in order to actually overcome this one thing.
Yeah.
And whenever he told me that, I was like, hold on, maybe I'm a sex addict too. Maybe I got these same kind of issues. And, it opened up the door for me to better understand myself, better understand, some of the things, that happened in my life, better understand where I was, and help me better understand some of the hurdles and barriers I had to overcome.
Yeah.
And, those were like significant things, like I had never in my life, had anyone tell me like, hey man, you may have a sexual addiction that is actually, one of the root causes for the problems that you're having in your life. Like that was all completely new to me. So, I went through that phase right there and ended up, leaving that company there. And I felt that, God had brought me there for a particular season.
Yeah.
And, I had came there, learned, what I needed to learn. And it was time for me, to go about my own way. And that's what I did. So I left from over there. I grinded, bro, for every bit of, 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And I tried to start like several different businesses back and forth, and it was just like a process of like failure. I had to fail, and that was one of the first things he told me.
What were some of the businesses that you started?
Some of the business that I didn't get to start or weren't successful, what was it, like a newspaper advertising thing, valet trash, Business was one of them. There were a few of them. I can't remember like exactly what else. Like,
which is how you and I reconnected with
yeah,
the Valley Trash,
yeah,
Valley Trash
yeah.
thing.
So
That's
at
how
that
we
point, right, when I was working at Hometown Hero, I basically got put on child support, and I basically needed to get a part-time job in order to, pay my rent and to make ends meet. So, I had my day job, and then I had a part-time job at night doing valet trash. And I actually met Brother Wayne, and right there one night, I was throwing the trash, and I heard him singing, and I was like, "Is that Brother Wayne?" And I ended up seeing him from doing that. And I was doing that valet trash for a minute, and it got to a point where I would be doing the valet trash at night, and then I would get calls, to unlock a car. So backtrack a tad bit. I was doing valet trash. That was pretty much like the consistent, like part-time job that I had after I had left, Hometown Hero. And I basically took up contracting. I would basically go on Craigslist, look at jobs, look for, any of the contract gigs. People, need to get something done. They want to get a patio built. I would do anything, bro. I don't even care what it was. Like, if it made money, I was YouTubing how to learn it. And I was like going out there trying to bid on that job. I would literally do anything, to make money. I was doing,
to make that money, you're grinding.
Bro, I was grinding. Like, someone say like, "Hey, I got some stuff I need picked up," and someone with a truck, guy for a truck with a rent, $50, I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, anything, as long as I was making, $25 to $55 an hour, I was like, I'm cool with it, and I'm trying to get it. So I did that, and I was actually doing epoxy decorative concrete overlays and epoxy overlays. Basically, people that have countertops, floors, they want to get them resurfaced. Basically, I can make them look like marble or granite and make them look like high-end, luxury products. Basically did that for a minute, back and forth between just
Can
doing
you still do
everything.
that? I know you stopped that, Rob, but can you
Yeah,
still do
no,
that?
I stopped that. I stopped it completely. So
Okay.
I had very bad experience, right? So like one day I was, doing a concrete job somewhere and like going towards San Antonio, like east of 35 out there, like New Braunfels area. There's like a little subdivision section out there somewhere, just like in the middle of nowhere. Lady found me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I want to get some countertops done." I was like, "I bet, $1,500." She was like, "Cool." So, went out there to go do that, and basically like ended up just getting myself into like a big mess. She needed some other work done. I basically was like, "Sure, I can do it," and basically contracted it out with like a bunch of family members and friends, and they just did like a horrible job. And basically like one day, one of the workers like called in, or one of the workers, I think, like locked his keys in his car, like called in. For some reason, I needed to go to the job site. So I basically drove from like Austin down 130 to go to the area, and like in Seguin, ended up falling asleep behind the wheel and crashed my truck, ran into a back of a U-Haul.
Yeah.
So I wrecked my truck. And then
was it a bad accident?
I mean, I wasn't hurt or nothing, but the car was totaled. If I wouldn't have had my seatbelt on, I probably would have died. But I mean, I wasn't hurt or nothing. But literally the very next day after that, was going to another job site, to go do something over there, same area, and freaking wreck my car doing that. So literally from
same thing, like you fell asleep or?
No, not this time. So this time it was just, I don't know, bro. I was driving and it was like, the road had like a little crevice curve in it. And when the steering wheel went down and like unleveled, basically like the steering wheel turned, a tad bit. And, you know, basically like just totally wrecked my car, bro. Just like driving, you know, just like a random fluke accident out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, bro, I am done, you know, doing this concrete stuff. Like, I'm done, you know, like trying to run like multiple different businesses and do like multiple different things.
Yeah.
You know, I was basically I had to make a decision at that point, right? I was like, I'm either going to continue unlocking cars or I'm going to do this, one or the other.
Yeah.
And literally, I went against the advice and judgment of everyone around me. When I first started doing this, everyone told me like, bro, like you're unlocking cars. Like, what kind of business is that? You know, like you're doing nothing, you know, like even the CEO of the company, you know, he ended up telling me like, if I was in your shoes, you know, I would basically maybe do the concrete overlays instead of unlocking cars.
Yeah.
It just seems like, you know, a better business.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you know, I respect your opinion and all, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with my gut instinct on this one.
Yeah.
And I learned, bro, to, you know, really trust my gut and trust my instinct.
Trust yourself.
Yeah. I've really learned to really trust that big time.
Yeah.
So, you know, like long story short, man, how did I get involved in like the business that I'm in right now? By just like fluke chance, bro. Like I was looking at, you know, a Craigslist ad one day about, you know, someone who was talking about, you know, a roadside assistance business. And I was like, huh, that sounds pretty interesting, you know, and they had like a business model for sale, you know, for like $500.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, probably like the last $500 I had in my pocket, bro. And I was like, damn, man, like, do I do this or do I not do this? It was probably like one of the hardest decisions, man, I ever made, for real.
Yeah.
And I made the decision, you know, to spend the $500 to buy that course to show me how to do it. And, you know, it was over from there. Yeah, it was over, man. But that was, you know, probably the hardest, you know, $500 I had ever spent.
Yeah.
And I mean, it didn't, you know, like teach me everything, but it opened up the door, you know, and because I had already learned everything that I had already learned at the other job, I was able to start connecting 1 and 2 and ABC and,
Yeah.
you know, able to start
Like it wasn't
piecing.
like you were starting off fresh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it was amazing, man. And it all came from, you know, just asking God, you know, to open up a door for me to actually be successful. And, you know, I remember being in jail and being like, telling God, like, I know you got like a higher calling and purpose for my life because, you know, all the things that I've experienced, I should have been dead like a long time ago, but like I'm not dead, I'm still here. So I know that you have like a calling for my life. And
Absolutely.
you know, I told God, I was like, you know, if I can ever, you know, like become successful, whatever, you know, like I'll definitely go before the world and, you know, share my story, you know, on how I actually came to like be in the position that I'm in. Cause like, honestly, I definitely wouldn't be here, you know, had God not answered my prayer that day.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it's really, and honestly, it's really taught me, you know, that sometimes, you know, like you got to just move with faith, you know, like even when you don't see what's going on and you don't understand what's going on, like there's definitely, you know, something going on the back end where God is just tying all these different things together. And then later on down the line, when you actually look back on it in hindsight, like, wow, you know, like how all these things were interconnected, but like in that moment, like you're not able to come up with that assumption or you're not able to see it in that moment. You know, like when I was there in that moment, I didn't realize that like this was the answer to my prayer.
Yeah.
In essence, it was almost like, you know, I had almost like even forgotten that I had prayed that prayer almost.
Yeah.
Literally for real. Like I had, you know, like I wasn't there actively thinking like, damn, you know, like this is, you know, like the answer to my prayer. Like, this is, God showing me, like, this is how, you become successful in this day and age.
Yeah.
I didn't actually realize that until, later on down the line when I started looking at everything. And it's been a journey for sure. And, one of the biggest things was that when I had prayed to God and I told God, like, I don't want to just work and, come home and that's it. Like, I want to be able to be there and like raise my kids, and I want to be able to like take care of them like every day, and, be able to like to be there on my terms, and like not,
To be present there for them.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to be present, and not just, so that was definitely been like one of the biggest things, is that like, God definitely opened up that door for me with a specific business model that gave me that flexibility.
Yeah.
Because literally doing what I'm doing, it takes me every bit of like, 2 to 5 minutes to unlock a car, and the rest of it, I'm just, in my car driving around or at home, so it's definitely been like one of the, best things that, has ever, came across my life at this point, for sure.
Yeah. That's an amazing story, and how it all pieced together, like you were saying, like it all has a reason to why it's happening.
Yeah. God is good, man. God is great.
Yeah, definitely.
Really is, for real.
I'd encourage you to, maybe get Rob was talking about this the other night about us, having to do virtual church.
Yeah.
And to reach the unchurched people, to reach the unchurched. And so maybe, being intentional about trying to bring on people who have questions about their faith. And it's like, I will get into God, but I don't even know. I mean, you got all these things, to believe in. How you know which one is right? How you know this one is true?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Come on, bring it on, baby. I got some answers for it. It's in the Word of God. So maybe like a little panel, man, and let them just turn them loose.
Yeah.
Turn them loose. Turn them loose. Like, what? Like, well, is this a sin? Well, what's wrong with doing this?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. That's a good idea.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
What about you guys? Y'all got any? Rob, you was talking about this virtual thing anyway. You got any suggestions for him?
For a virtual church?
Or just virtual anything? Or for what is this, Caleb? What are you calling
this? This is a podcast. This is a podcast. This is my podcast. So are y'all cool with this being
shared?
You
told me that.
On my podcast platform?
Yeah. So you got a podcast?
Yeah, I do. I just started it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I forget. You did say that. I forgot that. I forgot that's what you said this was.
Yeah, I was talking with
so what you do
about a podcast about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Sure did. I mean, what's your process, Caleb? So what do you do with this? You take this and then do what?
So right now, I currently just uploaded to YouTube, but I'm trying to work on getting like the application to where I can upload to Spotify and like Apple Music or like podcasts and stuff. But I still haven't gotten it like fully. So right now, it's just being uploaded to YouTube.
Are you able to edit and
Yeah. I can edit and
take certain things.
Yeah, definitely. So if there's something that
okay, that's good.
I can take it out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And what's your goal with this? What are you trying to accomplish through this?
So I want to grow connecting with people, just two people sharing, or more than two people, just people sharing their insights, connecting with the people. And that's really like just growing, because I feel like we're all going through a certain amount of things and we all have different stories that are unique. We can all learn from each other and grow from each other. And I feel like that's what we need right now, because we're at a time where we have the most incoming knowledge, but we have the least like structure and adult figure and like somewhere to guide us. And if we have people
listening,
connecting with each other that are like wise, we can grow with each other.
Yeah.
Wow, listen at you. That's awesome. And different topic. I like how we talked about, entrepreneurship. You talked about faith. Talked about relationship. I mean, I like that. That's real talk.
All aspects.
I love how yeah, the real talk.
All righty, well, that's it. I appreciate y'all guys.
Yeah.
I appreciate my guys' wisdom, and thank y'all for everything. Peace out.
Have a good one.
Thank you for your platform. Take care. All right. Be good.